You're welcome. You are
This will wake you right up.
This is a gift.
Ooh, I love it. Is this the standard opening song, or is there a new one every time?
My desk with my imaginary drumsticks.
You did a great job. No, this is not the standard song, but Nick and I are in competition for who picks the best songs.
This is good. Zach Brown Band with Chris Cornell. That's a good one. Rest in peace, Chris Cornell.
Yes.
Hey, everyone. How's it going? It's Commander Morning. I'm Nick Baldwin. It's a Friday. I got my co-host, Jesse Newquist. And, guys, we have an amazing guest for you today. It's the new president of Place Inc., Chris Stuart, former CEO of Berkshire Hathaway. We're so excited that you're here. Thank you so much. How's it going, man? Thanks for waking up at 5:30 your time to do this show.
Well, I had to wake up a heck of a lot earlier than 5:30, but absolutely, brother. Hey, a testament to our friendship, by the way, Nick. You know, you just asked me, hey, would you do it? I said yes. A couple of days later, the meeting invite comes over. I look at the time zone. What's going on? 5:30. Yeah.
Well, I know you're working with Ben and Chris now, so 5:30 is like halfway through your day at this point. So
that's it. That's it.
And I appreciate it. That's right. So Chris, does a lot of stuff with lab coat agents. So we've known Chris for a while. So he's a super nice guy, and I appreciate you doing this. I didn't know where in the world you were, so I was like, oh man, I hope he's not.
You totally did.
Yeah,
you totally did.
Yeah,
you definitely did.
But how's it going, man? Thanks.
Chris, will you tell us about the new position? Tell us about Place Inc. Give us the 2-minute. Where'd you come from?
Yeah, well, so to Nick's point, I previously was the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Global Franchise Network. Been collaborating with Ben for quite a while. Had an opportunity over the course of this year to really understand the Place value proposition, what they were doing, the growth trajectory, just based on the launch last year, and I'm super excited about the path forward. And really, the way that I describe Place and what inspires me about it is that it's really a success-based model. It's a success-based model that really is designed to infuse a collection of technology, consulting, coaching, best practices to really enhance the performance of already top-performing agents and teams across the United States and Canada, which is super cool, right? So I feel like we've got a limitless upside. There's a tremendous amount of need in the industry, in my opinion, for top producing teams who want to get better, who aspire to get to the next level, whatever that is for them. And I believe that we've got the right collection of talent, experiences, perspective, and future vision to help them do that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Can you, I think there was a little confusion around when Place launched. People were like, what is it? Is it a team? Like, is it a tech company? What is it? Right. So explain for those people watching who don't truly understand what Place is. What is Place?
Yeah.
A better question.
Well, I think in a simple description, it is a platform that is designed as a service, right? And so if you look outside of the real estate industry, there are a lot of platform as service models, business models, Salesforce as an example in the tech space, but there are plenty others, let's say Regis in the real estate space. So there's plenty of platform as a service business models. I believe that we are an exceptional one in the real estate space. And it's really, again, designed to infuse a collection of best practices, technology, coaching, consulting, business process, back office support for those teams who are either aspiring for that next level of growth or are saying, Nick and Jesse, that in the context of what I'm doing today, I'm just bumping my head against a lot of inefficiency. I'm chasing top line growth by expanding my bottom line expenses. And obviously that's a recipe for either unsustainability or just insanity. And so in its own way, we provide a formula and a prescription to address all of those needs and desires.
So you had used the term recently, brokerage agnostic. That I love words. That's a beautiful description of it. Does that explain it?
Yeah, well, it certainly describes our ambition for our customers, Jesse, right? So in other words, if you look at the Place customer base today, it is Keller Williams, right? There's a lot of Keller Williams teams, and and that is the constitution of who we serve today. However, we desire to be broker agnostic. So really the population of people we're serving today is a function of Chris Suarez and Ben Kinney and their respective networks and how they've, developed relationships and obviously their history with Keller Williams specifically. But Place itself as an entity is not tethered uniquely or individually to Keller Williams in any way. But obviously we appreciate that relationship. We value the relationship that our Place customers have with their Keller Williams brokerages, but we do desire to be broker agnostic and attract teams and agents from all brands, all networks.
Yeah. So I just want to, clarify for anyone who might be a little confused. Chris is the president of Place. It is a separate entity from Keller Williams. He is not working with or for Keller Williams. So I just want to put that out into the universe so everyone understands what Chris's role is. And Chris, so as the president of Place, are you focused primarily like on the tech side, the platform side? Which aspect of it are you, primarily kind of responsible for?
Yeah. So, as with any startup, we're all wearing a lot of hats, which is exciting and a key part of, one part I would say of the decision to join the team is to wear a lot of hats and get to be involved in a lot of the company's growth initiatives. But, as the president, Nick and Jesse, really focused on galvanizing our organization, bringing in the right organizational design, filling the design of that organization with the right leaders, developing the right accountabilities. So across the technology, across our service delivery model for our customers, those teams, those top producing teams, looking at our back office systems and infrastructure to support those teams, who are the people that need to be involved, right? So we've got a lot of really ambitious customers. So we need to have an equivalent ambition in terms of how we're standing up our service and support and delivery models. And so I'm really, working with Ben and Chris as a collaborative team, like any startup, to understand what does that path look like, who are the right people, who's responsible for what, and I'm trying to bring the glue to all of that as the president.
So as KW team leaders, we all want to hear like the big recruiting story. So like getting the president or the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway to come and run your tech platform company, like that's a huge win and a huge get. Like, is there a sexy recruiting story? Is there a huge win that we can celebrate? Before
you tell the story, I want to relate it to a little bit more to team leaders or even rainmakers, right? So there is a lot of limiting belief around. I was a previous Market Center team leader. Jesse's a team leader. There is a lot of limiting belief around, okay, if I'm going to approach a mega team, a team doing 50, 75, 100 plus million, and with Keller Williams as a brokerage, there's no ceiling, right? Like look at Ben and Chris doing like $2.5 billion in volume in the last 12 months, right? Like that's nuts. That's like, I can't even, my head's exploding. How, when we have that limiting belief as a team leader, I'm not going to approach that team doing 100 million because they're already doing so well. Like what could I possibly offer them, right? And so when Ben and Chris bring you on, this former CEO of Berkshire Hathaway, one of the largest brokerages on the planet, to now be the president of Place, their platform, like we know that Ben and Chris have no limiting belief. But how, just from a team leader perspective, it's very inspiring. It's extremely inspiring. So what was that like? I just wanted to bring a little more perspective to the way some people might feel about it.
Yeah. So there's so many, I think, great takeaways here. I think number one is, and I think about this from my own perspective, recruiting talent and having built a lot of businesses along the way is, are you primarily looking at recruiting and growth from a selfish perspective or what you can contribute to the other person, right? So I think a lot of people, when I look at whether it's an individual sales manager or a brokerage or obviously a team leader in this context we're talking about, I think a lot of people continue to look at their business plan. They look at the gaps and the boxes they're trying to check in their business plan. So it's a really self-serving sort of context or perspective to begin with. And I think that really establishes a lot of limiting beliefs as opposed to saying, who can I go attract into the world and how can I serve them? What can I contribute? And the reality is, you don't really know what you can contribute to that $100 million producer unless you engage in the conversation. Sometimes they're burnout. Sometimes they're chasing $100 million in volume by expanding their expense load. Sometimes they're challenged with leadership and management of the people on their team. Sometimes they're challenged with the day-to-day and they want to balance and quality of life so they can go coach Little League. There's a lot of things that I think as recruiters, as business owners, that we can pour into the people that we're looking to attract to our business. But if we have that hesitancy to even identify what are those things that we can contribute, because we're approaching it more from the standpoint of, hey, what is it going to do for me? Then you never even have an opportunity to have that conversation. Does that makes sense? I think that's
that's a huge takeaway, because we always kind of lead, well, we don't always, a lot of people lead with, how could I approach that person? They're already doing such a huge business. But then when it comes down to it, Chris, that might not be what they want to continue doing, or they may need, like you said, they may be burning out. They may need you to come in and consult them on how to leverage more so they can spend more time with their kids or go coach that Little League game. That's a really good takeaway.
So
yeah, and you just never know, right? You just never know. And here's the other thing too, is a lot of times the best folks, the people at the top of the stack, regardless of where they are, what they're doing, they're often on an island. They're often the people that are getting the least amount of attention, because whoever's around them in their world, they're saying, "Oh, they're good. They've got it. Don't worry about it." And so a lot of times it's just that outreach that says, "Hey, is there a collaboration here that's of value? What are you struggling with? Where are you bumping your head against the ceiling?" And it's just that dialogue. So I think that first thing is always look to attract people to your world from the spirit of contribution. That's the first thing. Once you can establish that dialogue and rapport from that perspective, now the world's open up. So don't be artificially, pressuring that relationship with any timelines, because it's all artificial, right? It does not matter. It could take 6 months. It could take 6 years. So now you just pour in, you listen, you ask great questions, you contribute. You got to focus on yourself, right? So in other words, relating it to my experience, as I got to know Ben and Chris, I got to know that, hey, they're masters in their world, right? And the people that they've surrounded themselves, where it's Via that runs brokerages, or Jolene that runs a tremendous amount of Ben's, BKCO's team organization, or David Wiggs. And so many, Adelina. There are so many awesome people. As I got to meet these people, I'm thinking, wait a minute, there's a lot that they can contribute into my world. There's a lot that I can contribute into their world. There's a lot of synergy and alignment. But it just takes some time for those things to develop and nurture. So again, don't put any artificial timelines on the big folks that you're trying to bring into your world.
So you talked about recently, I watched a couple interviews, just a couple interviews to do my homework.
She stalked you last night on YouTube. She stalked you.
Oh, cool.
It was with Via, this interview, and you talked about the safety net and teaching our agents that our safety net, switching that from income to our safety net being relationships. I thought that was such a beautiful way to explain this. So can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, well, so the kind of the frame for that, Jesse, was, I think a lot of times maybe we're hesitant to make changes, or we're hesitant to, think about asking other people to make changes. And so in the context of helping people manage change, a lot of people are hesitant to change because they want that security, that certainty, that safety of wherever their current environment is. And so I was trying to develop a different perspective, which is to say, yeah, income is certainly an element of safety, but there's this whole other element of safety and sort of support, which are the relationships that you have. And those relationships will show up for you when you need them. Perfect example is when I took this opportunity, I started to reactivate some networks and friendships and people that obviously I've had and maintained forever, but I didn't need to call on those people from a professional standpoint because I wasn't in a role that necessarily leveraged them. But the moment I was in a role to leverage them, boom, I pick up the phone and I activate networks that I hadn't, activated in many, many years. And so I just encourage people to think about that. Those people that you can pick up the phone and call and leverage and activate are very, very valuable. And they don't necessarily come in the form of a guarantee or a paycheck or these sorts of things. And I understand income is important, but they show up in other ways that will result in the money and the results that you're looking for when you make changes in your career or whatever change you're looking for.
Relationships. So, Nick, don't let me step on your toes, and I will step on your toes. Love you, brother.
I was just going to say, in terms of relationships, when you were at Berkshire Hathaway, you clearly formed a ton, because did you bring that company from 32,000 agents to 50,000? Is that accurate?
Wow.
Right.
And so, what are people were asking in the chat, like, where can they get tangible information to approach these agents and teams like that? And so clearly bringing on that many agents and teams over the course of that period of time, what are some of the strategies that you used or that you learned or that you could teach other agents to do, or team leaders? Yeah.
So, in the spirit of full disclosure, I'm a total nerd and geek. I have a biochemistry degree.
Me too.
Yeah, we've talked about it. So I have a biochemistry degree. I've only ever been in sales. I've only ever done professional sales my whole career since getting out of college. So, but here's been my perspective, Nick. You probably share this, is coming from a science background. I've always viewed sales as a repeatable process, basically a science experiment. So if I know what the outcome is, the result of the experiment, then I can reverse engineer what steps do I need to do to successfully replicate that, scale it, and have more and more and more success. And so relative to finding talent and how I tried to approach it as much as I could, Nick, always was look at the production of who I'm trying to attract and try to develop some stories, some perspective value narratives, right? I always try to find where is the economic value in terms of what I can contribute to them. So if that was a team or a brokerage or an individual agent, I'm looking at what is their production? What is their average sales price? How many of their closed units are listing sides? Can I extrapolate anything from what they're doing and then compare that to what the market is doing? But then more importantly, what are the leaders in the market doing? So what are the leading companies and teams in the market doing in terms of how many of their sides are listing sides or average sales price? Now, when I go into that relationship, I already have some assumptions as to where I believe I can add some value. Now, I'm not going to be presumptive. I'm just going to have those kind of as cards in my poker hand, right? And now I developed a relationship. I'm in the spirit of contribution. I'm asking questions about if they're bumping their head against any ceilings. And then if they don't share some of what I've uncovered, then I might ask some specific questions. Do you desire to elevate your average sales price? I see a lot of your teams are disproportionately representing buyers, not sellers. Only 35% of your deals are listing sites. Tell me about that. What do you think about the long term of your ability to be successful in the business if you're not representing at least 55% of your deals as listings, right? So now we can get into some specifics, and now I can discover, uncover, recover, present my value proposition. And if I've been in the spirit of contribution, then I feel like I've got a pretty good chance of, furthering that dialogue. Now, what do I see in the industry as the counterpoint? I see a lot of, hey, do you have an open mind to your career in real estate? Great. Can I spend an hour just like vomiting on you of our value proposition and not ask any questions and not listen to you and not ask about your kids in Little League?
Right.
Right. That's what's happening. And so then people say, but I don't know what I'm not having success. Yeah, you're not having success because you're in the spirit of what they can contribute to you, not what you can contribute to them. Mm. So analytics, right? Just try to develop a narrative where you feel like you can add value and go into that first conversation with just some understanding.
Real quick, Jesse, I just want to add to that. Mm-hmm. I love that because I learned that the hard way. I mean, when I was a team leader, right? Nobody taught me how to be a team leader. I had to do it.
You didn't get the manual?
No, I didn't get the manual. No, that they revise every year. No, I didn't get that manual. It's not about what KW or Berkshire or Place can offer. It's about what the agent or team needs. And you could, like you said, word vomit everything in the world that you offer and then not hit a single need for that person.
Yeah.
And we make that mistake so many times. We even make that mistake going on listing appointments. I'm the number one agent in the world selling 6 trillion homes. You should list with me. I don't really care about that, you know?
It's so obnoxious, you know? And here's the other thing too, in terms of growth and building, is that you're always, you know, it's just the nature of this business. We're always recruiting. Every single thing that you do is an element, is an extension of your ability to attract talent. How you're dealing with your partners, your title partners, your lenders, your inspectors, your appraisers, anyone you touch in the industry that's touching people that you want to attract, every single interaction is an attraction, interaction. So you have to constantly be in that spirit and be representing what you are who you are as a leader and what your environment represents in terms of opportunity. Every single time. It's not a sometime thing. I'm not only recruiting when I pick up the phone and call someone. Every single time you're out in public, interacting with anyone in the industry, you're recruiting. And you're either doing a good job or a bad job.
Right. There, can we talk industry for a minute? You're quoted as saying that you believe that the real estate industry is at an inflection point. And maybe before we talk about the future, can you remind us and teach us young folk, not me, about your experience at Oracle during the revolution, during the internet boom, and kind of why you want to do that again?
Yeah. So I started my career, again, biochemistry degree, but started my career in technology, worked in systems integration on the East Coast of New York City, transferred out to Silicon Valley, and I was a global account executive for Oracle Corporation. This was the late 90s all the way through the first part of the 2000s. So I saw the dot-com boom and bust. And here's one point I would say here, Jesse, is that a lot of the companies that we may have all remembered in the late 90s, right? Pets.com, the little sock puppet, and they spent billions of dollars. Webvan, which was the predecessor to Amazon Prime, maybe, you know. Okay, a lot of those companies at the time, they were companies that had solutions in search of problems that didn't exist.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Real quick before you continue, we just talked about that with Jason Abrams on Wednesday. A lot of the apps and the new tech that comes out are things that we didn't even know that we needed. And in reality, we don't really need a lot of them. We just think we do, because it's cool, right? And so, yeah, I love that you're saying that, because it's so true with so much of the technology that we're using today.
Yeah. And so when I think about, you know, the transformation that happened in a lot of industries, virtually every industry, because of the internet, right? Because of that internet technology, I think that we're in a similar place as an industry, but not because of tech. I don't think that we're going to have our Kodak moment where film processing just goes away overnight for digital cameras. Right? I don't think that.
Right.
If we're equating that to the value of the agent. I do, however, believe that there's a lot of companies that believe that the future of the industry can happen without the agent. I disagree. I believe that the greatest technology ever created is our agents. And I've said that for I think I said that on stage to Berkshire 4 years ago. So I'm firmly in the camp of how do we expand, extend, insulate, promote the value of the real estate agent? How do we do that? We make it more clear and obvious and transparent to the consumer as to the value they add. And that's on us as an industry. We all have to get in and row in the same direction from that standpoint. Okay. So we need to be very eyes wide open. Okay, the optics need to be clear for everyone as to who you as an agent are monetizing and what their end game is relative to your value and your role in the industry, right? Imagine if all of the attorneys got on board to diminish themselves in favor of LegalZoom. Imagine if all the accountants got on board to diminish themselves in favor of TurboTax and H&R Block Online. It would never happen. They would never do that.
Right.
But unfortunately, our industry as agents, we're looking at the very people intent on replacing a lot of our value with algorithms and apps and this sort of thing. And we're funding their development. We're monetizing them. They are monetizing us, right? So just be more clear in the optics of who you're associated with and what their intention of your value and role are, number one, right? But that said, we can feel that there is a obvious transformation in terms of the models. What happens to the models of real estate? What is the role of teams? What is the role of specialization? And most importantly, how do we serve the customer better? Those were the winners and have been the winners in every industry. How do we serve our customers better? We've got to get the spotlight off of ourselves as an industry and put it directly on our customer. How do we create less friction in how we provide value to our customers, not just before the transaction, but during and then after and before the next transaction? And so we've got to get the spotlight off of ourselves. And to me, that sort of is the central theme of this next transformative phase of the business. I do believe that based on the model transformation, we could see an environment where, the economics of the industry could change, fewer agents potentially competing for fewer deals. I feel like right now, based on what's happening with interest rates and where we've been this year and last, we're probably pulling demand forward. So what does that look like in terms of 22 and 23 and 24's probable transactions if we're pulling that forward? So there's a lot of things, Jesse. I'm sorry for the long-winded response.
No, this is great. I'm taking furious notes.
I feel like there's a lot of things contributing to why I believe we're at this inflection point.
I think, there's always going to be someone who wants the McRib and there's always going to be someone who wants the filet. So there's always going to be someone, I want both sometimes, but there's always going to be room for both. And last year, 2020, this is a newest NAR stat, 89% of buyers and sellers used a real estate agent. And that's the highest ever in the history of real estate agents, believe it or not, 89%. So with all of these companies coming in, these disruptors to dumping money to get rid of us, it's clearly not working, right? Because it is a relationship business. When you're buying a house for hundreds of thousands of dollars, that's not something you want to do on a computer without someone's shoulder to lean on. Now, if I'm looking to file for an LLC, I'll use LegalZoom. If I'm on trial for murder, I'm going to get an attorney. You know what I'm saying? There's always going to be a place for that type of service, and we're not going anywhere. As long as you offer that high level service, there's always going to be a need for you.
Yeah, so, but you would agree that but you would agree, Nick, that some of our competitors think differently. In other words, I think some people in the industry are aiming, their resources at challenging that statement.
You had talked about, Chris, recently the loyalty gap and another NAR stat. It's somewhere in the 80s of consumers say yes, they would use their real estate agent again, and then it's less than 10% that actually do. Somewhere around there. Those numbers are close enough for me. So the loyalty gap solution, is it simply improve the consumer experience? Is that the formula that you just mentioned? Is that the solution, or what else should it be?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of things, Jesse. First of all, I think it's about changing our perspective, right? So much of our customer contact today as an industry is intent on finding the next transaction, as opposed to saying, what else can I do to add value to your existing homeownership experience? How can I better serve you, as opposed to how can I better serve myself, right? So you don't need to look any further than the content and the calls to action in what we're sending to our clients and our farms. It is primarily aimed at finding deals. Now, I'm not saying that finding deals is a bad thing. I'm just saying that if 80% of what we're doing, our resources, our content, our messaging, our calls to action, are intent on finding the next deal, think about all those other people, 93%. That to me is kind of the threshold issue. What is our perspective of contributing to our customers? How are we adding value? Then the next thing is, we've got to eliminate a lot of the selfishness in terms of, in other words, if I'm a real estate agent and I'm reaching out to identify customers in my farm or past clients, my database that are looking to remodel, there's not a commissionable event for me. However, I can add great value. I've got lenders that provide financing. I know the best contractors. I know great designers. So I'm going to go ahead and initiate in that dialogue in the spirit of contribution to that person, because I know it's going to result in a deal down the road. So I've got to eliminate a lot of the selfishness around the economics, but then I've got to develop what I call the ecosystem. I've got to have that ecosystem, and I've got to have a great service delivery platform that ensures that when those customers call upon me for a refinance or to rebalance their insurance portfolio and get some new quotes or to remodel, that I've got a great team and ecosystem, and I can deliver that in a way to the customer, which means my service delivery, my partner service delivery, my technology, all of that stuff has to be delivered in a way that provides a really delightful experience for the customer. That's where we're headed. And that's, an exciting thing about how we're developing Place is we want to be that ecosystem for the customers that come to Place, to help them grow their businesses and expand into the future.
So I just want to butt in here for a second, because Natalie Hartman, I believe it's Natalie Hartman, she is being so patient in the chat on Facebook. She's asking a lot of questions, and I just want to get to this for her so she has a little bit more clarity around what Place offers and why an agent would decide to use Place as their platform. So she's just looking for a little bit more clarity and understanding. So thank you, Natalie, for being so patient. She's been waiting so long. Maybe you can answer that for.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the way that I think about it, first of all, is I'd have to understand what is Natalie's objectives, right? What is her vision? What for her business? What are her current challenges? How does she imagine her business plan unfolding the next couple of years? What we're seeing, Natalie, is a lot of teams, again, chasing top line growth with bottom line expense expansion. So their net income is not expanding. So at Place, we have packaged a collection of technology, of specific business process development. So who to hire on your team, when to hire them, what is the relationship to the expenses of the people that you're hiring, what are their job descriptions, their compensation plans, how do you scale that? And then looking at all of the expenses in terms of technology, lead generation, general marketing and promotion, a lot of the things that you're using to run the business, and then the back office in terms of accounting and just basic planning and analysis, right? So we provide, as an example, our CFO and our team of financial analysts, they're yours, right? So imagine all of that and the experience, 2 decades of experience, plus the contribution of all the people that are part of Place and help develop it. You get to plug into that intellectual property, plug into the tech, plug into the marketing, plug into the expense management, plug into the CFO on demand. You plug into all of that. So I kind of, in a funny way, I imagine is somebody has paid the dumb tax for the ambition that you have to grow your company, Natalie. Somebody has paid it for you, right? Place has paid it for you. There are other companies that have paid it for you. So instead of you trying to stitch together your own technology, your own database, your own drip marketing, your own infrastructure, your own job descriptions for the people that you're hiring into your team, the compensation plans, how do you inspire them? What are you doing with them weekly, right? What are your stand-up meetings and accountability structures? You can create all of that, or you can stitch it together with a lot of different vendors and service providers and coaches and et cetera. Or you can come to Place and get it all in one stop.
Well, that's interesting that you said that, because that a lot of the questions we get are, what are you using for this? What are you paying this person? How do you hire this person? And so I think, what a lot of agents need is just, a model, Chris? Could that be the thing, or a system,
Leverage.
perhaps?
Systems and a model and a platform all in one place.
Yeah.
What would you say?
And the results, and I'll just say this, to Natalie or anyone that's, we're all cynics and critics, right? That's just human nature. So I get it. But the proof's in the pudding. So you'd have to actually sit with the operators, the CEOs of the businesses that are customers of Place, and really take the time to understand where they were and now where they are. And you can look at, what I look at is this: what is the net operating income of those operations now that they've plugged into place, right? And when you talk about, significant both increases and sustainable operating, net incomes, 20+% operating incomes, margins, that is substantial. So again, you can pay the dumb tax, you can figure it out, you can take the time away from your family and whatever else you're trying to pursue, including being with your customers more, to try to stitch all of this together, or you can plug into a platform that's all in one place.
Can I ask a leadership question?
Yeah.
So,
what do you think this is? A leadership podcast or something?
So around the dumb tax, what is the biggest or hardest leadership lesson you'd say that you'd learned along the way?
Oh, wait a minute.
Wow.
Ben just posted right here in the chat, Ben Kinney. So this is one sentence. What Place does: we help team leaders stop large teams from leaving their brokerage. Yes, there you go. Perfect. One sentence. And
there you go.
That's great. That's great.
Ben on here. Ben, where are you at, bud? Just get in here.
Seriously.
Ben, I'm asking you again live to do Command Your Morning. So I expect an answer. I emailed you. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you didn't get it, Ben. But
actually, you know what, Ben? Get off of here and respond to the text I sent you. More important.
So, Chris, I'll expand on the question. Either the greatest leadership lesson that you've learned along the way, the hardest, or the worst leadership advice you've ever got.
Oh man, that is that's a big question, Jesse. I think it would have to be to constantly be in the service of others, right? I feel like my job as a leader is to make everyone around me 10x, right? I'm trying to 10x every single person around me. And not just, the people that I work for or, my peers, but everyone, right? Trying to make everyone in the organization 10x better, which, I think a lot goes into that, right? You have to be present. You have to be a great listener. You have to be selfless, but I think ultimately, if we can all operate from the standpoint of how do I operate in the spirit of contribution? How can I give more to the people around me than they're giving to me? And then challenge them to do the same, right? Because it's in that spirit of service that we all just lift each other up.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Can we ask you about who's pouring into you, what books you're reading that are inspiring you, what podcasts?
So I just started a book called Two Chairs by a good friend of mine, Bob Bodine. Just started that. I just recently reread The Future is Faster Than You Think. I suspect your audience, if they haven't read that book, this audience will probably love that book. The Future is Faster Than You Think. It's a few years old now, but it's really an incredible piece, that really speaks to the pace of innovation across the planet. Mm-hmm. I've really enjoyed all of the new relationships that I'm beginning to form with the Place family. Such an inspiring group of accomplished people that are so ambitious about the future. Chris Suarez, man, that guy is inspiring. That guy he's a voracious reader. And every Friday, he's got this inspiring message that he shares with the Place family. It's like, that guy's incredible how he does that and comes up with that. Ben, when he talks to me, is super inspiring, and he pours just a couple of drops into my cup, which is awesome. Just kidding, Ben. So there's a lot of great people, and I tell you, my relationship with Gino Blafari, who has been my mentor and coach, who runs the Home Service of America organization. He's always an inspiring person. I read his weekly thoughts on leadership. So I'm very blessed that I got a lot of people and a lot of inspiration around me.
That's awesome. Hey, Chris, this is actually a really good question from Christina on YouTube. She wants to know if Place is only for high producing teams, or would a single agent under 5 years in the biz benefit from joining the platform?
Yeah, absolutely. There's something out there for everyone. We've got an incredible technology stack called Brivity. Brivity is the technology, environment, the platform that powers the Place platform and the teams there. So, Christina, thanks for that wonderful question. I would encourage everyone who has any question, go to place.com, submit an inquiry. We have a fabulous team. Katie Benson, Holly Priestner, Jolene Snell. These ladies are incredible. They're so
Crazy good.
Wealth of experience. They're happy to consult with you and give you a great overview of what we have to offer across our environment here at Place.
That's awesome. Hey, so this is Command Your Morning. So we have to ask you, how do you start your day? Do you have a routine that's structured, and do you do the same thing every day? How does it look like when you wake up in the morning?
No, I don't. I have, throughout my career, I've had, and then I've not, but recently, I've been listening to some podcasts. In fact, Dr. Sanjay Gupta has been sort of aggregating. Let me say aggregating some studies on our brain health. And we've determined now that we can actually develop new brain cells. And we didn't know that before. We used to think that the population of our brain cells was kind of a fixed number. It was developed, in our early infancy, and then it was kind of a fixed number. That's not the case. And specifically, what develops new brain cells is diversity, is challenge, is change, is doing things differently every single day. So as an example, a lot of people think, well, I'm doing crosswords. Well, crossword puzzles are fine, but if that's all you're doing, that's not developing new brain cells. So it's about doing new things, learning new things, particularly hand-eye, right? So learning to play an instrument, learning to play, like I'm trying to play racket sports, different racket sports, right? Different things like that. So I'm very deliberately, Nick, not doing the same things. I'm brushing my teeth with my left hand, then my right hand. I'm getting up and listening to different types of music that I don't like to listen to. I'll do that. Here's what I'll tell the audience this. The best way to develop new brain cells is when we're taking brisk walks. A lot of people think exercise is good from that standpoint in terms of brain health and things like that. It is. However, if you're running or doing something very strenuous, you're also sending stress responders, which is kind of counteracting the right. So here's the other thing, is being vulnerable with your friends. So the best way to develop new brain cells, take a brisk walk with someone close to you and share your problems. Okay. I hike 45 to 50 miles a week. Sometimes I'll do that, a little bit of that in the morning, sometimes in the middle of the day, just kind of bumping it up. So I'm sorry to mess up your formula.
No.
This is fascinating to me,
Chris.
That's what I'm doing.
I just want to say a lot of things you just said to me super resonate with me really, really high at a really high level. Couple things. My morning's never the same in that I have a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old. It's fair game. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen when I wake up in the morning, right? There are certain things that I like to do every morning. Like I like to read for a half an hour. But I find it very interesting that you said, if we tend to do things that are not non-repetitive, do different things every day, it helps grow new brain cells. I've actually heard that the more repetitive you are, the higher risk you put yourself at for diseases like Alzheimer's and dementia. And my wife's grandfather passed away about 10 years ago of Alzheimer's, and he was a barber. And believe it or not, barbers have a very high rate of Alzheimer's because it's very monotonous. Not so much like hairdressers, because there's a lot of different things that go into hairdressers, you know what I mean? But barbers specifically. So it's interesting. But I want to say that you also said be vulnerable and open with your friends and share your problems. I am big on that only because, first of all, I've been in therapy since I was 6. And second, I'm very open about my mental health. I suffer from depression. I don't say suffer. I say I live with depression, ADHD, and extreme anxiety. And I'm very open about it. And I don't think that sharing parts of your life that may be considered private or is weakness. I think vulnerability is strength, because it takes a very brave person to put those things out into the world. And as a leader, you're told a lot, you always have to have a smile on your face. Things always have to be going well. And that's not the case. Like, you would be surprised as a leader, being vulnerable and putting those things out into the universe, you're going to touch so many more people by humanizing yourself. So I'm really glad that you said that. So thank you.
This is the brain science to back up the feeling. And so thank you. I appreciate that. I could talk about that all day long.
Yeah.
So is it around the new experiences? Is it more action oriented or learning based, or is it a mixture of both? Do you need to do something new or learn something new, or is it both?
It's both. Yep, it's both. Now, the Dr. Gupta's got a book. You could read the book, listen to the podcasts or whatever.
Oh, wow.
But my takeaway was that it was both, Jesse.
I'll do it. That's so awesome. So great. So last question that I have for you. You said 3 words, super passionate about, 4 words, currently, in an interview recently. And so that's a clue to me. What you said you're super passionate about right now is embracing industry change. And so if there's a theme around this whole talk that we got to have with you this morning, it's embracing change. It's literally what we're put here for and the healthiest thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
That wasn't a question. That was my aha. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I got that, and I'm validating.
Yes.
Love it.
Correct. Well, this has been awesome, Chris. We thank you so much for taking the time out of your day, waking up early with us to be on this show. Now you can go take a nap. I won't tell Ben that you're taking a nap. By the way, naps are very important.
Sorry, Nick tricked you.
They take naps in other countries in the middle of the day. And since you brought up, sharing your struggles, I have an initiative. I'm very big on bringing more awareness to mental health. The shirt that I'm wearing, the Mind Love Mental Health Awareness shirt, I designed this. If you go to commanderswag.com, get the Mind Love shirt, and you're going to directly support the National Alliance for Mental Health. All the proceeds from this shirt go directly to the National Alliance for Mental Health. And I would love it if people watching would go and do that. So Chris, thank you so much for being here. It's been awesome.
Thank you.
You've always been a big supporter of Lab Coat Agents, so we love you for that. And thank you so much for being here with us this morning.
Agents, teams, team leaders, go to place. It's just place.com.
Yeah, place.com. Go check it out.
Simpler. All in one place.
I love it.
That's why they call it Place.
Thank you, Chris Stuart.
I just want to know how much they paid for place.com, because that domain could not have been available. But that's another episode.
That's for
Thanks, everybody. See you later.
Everyone.
See you guys. Bye-bye. Thank you.